10 Minutes to Joy is your weekly invitation to reset, recharge, and rediscover your most joyful self through aha moments and simple energy techniques. You're listening to holistic psychotherapist Sylvia Plester-Silk. I've worked with couples, individuals, and groups. From parole officer to private practice, I've learned many a lesson, and I'm ready to share. Today, we're going to talk about couples. Oftentimes, you've heard of the 7-year stretch. That's when you've been married for a number of years and there's maybe a little bit of routine and rut coming, and there's a desire to shake it up. And for some people, they move on to other relationships. Other times, it is just staying in a relationship, but it's feeling like it's not as vibrant or alive or as meaningful. So, how exactly does this happen? Because you meet someone, you're attracted to them, there's certain characteristics you're super attracted to. And what happens to those characteristics and personality traits? Do they suddenly disappear magically? I don't think so. I think once we get past those beautiful, loving hormones and we settle into life with the person we love, a whole bunch of little patterns start showing up. And at first, they're kind of like, I wish it could be different. I wish that. And you maybe think you're making a big deal, so you don't bring it up to discuss. And then it continues on. Or you bring it up to discuss, and the partner doesn't understand where you're coming from, doesn't appreciate what you're saying, misses what you're saying, or doesn't know how to change it. From my perspective, from an energy therapy standpoint, what's coming up is just underlying patterns. So if I have so here's a little bit of disclosure. One of the things I first remember about my husband, Mark, was how well he listened to me. And that was like, just felt so powerful to have someone listen that deeply to me when I was quite young. Now I would say to you, sometimes he doesn't listen. Well, what's the difference? Well, I had a pattern that people don't value me and don't listen to me. So, did he listen? He probably did. Could I experience him listening? Maybe not. Cleared the pattern, and magically the man's listening to me more. Hmm, interesting, isn't it? So, these little things that come up, and by little things can become big things. It's just like this slow burning pot of unresolved patterns, of disappointments, maybe hurts, and it becomes this stew of resentment eventually if we don't work through it. So, how do we shift from noticing what's missing to noticing what's present and getting out of our own way so that we can truly experience that other person in their wholeness? So I'm going to speak through it from an individual point of view. Imagine when you come to see me and we're busting through these things as a couple. It's really powerful. It's powerful when we do it individually and uber powerful when both people come together and start to look at their patterns and simultaneously work through their patterns. That's where the real love can come back in a relationship. The connection can come back. So, common patterns are perfectionism. So I have to do if you want anything done right, you got to do it yourself. Or I always have to do everything. Maybe you had a lot of responsibility as a kid growing up. Maybe you just naturally take on things. The opposite one of that, sometimes people call you controlling. So when you get the feedback you're controlling, you pull back and it's like, no, I'm not controlling. You don't. So the finger starts to get pointed instead of looking at it and saying, ooh, perhaps there is a part of my behavior that could be perceived as controlling. Where is that behavior coming from? So again, I'll say to you, patterns are made up of beliefs about yourself, thoughts, and emotions that then create the behavior. So go and look at it in terms of what thoughts are coming up as we're having this conversation. What are the emotions? And what do I believe about myself as a person because I'm being told, given this feedback, or I feel like I have to do everything? So sometimes just having awareness of the pattern can help to some degree because then you can say, okay, I know this is my pattern and I want to shift it. I don't want to live from that place of lack anymore. I want to move forward and recognize that maybe that's not accurate. And so, from a mindset point of view, you might look for exceptions. When is that not true? You may also have a pattern of nothing I ever do is enough. Nobody's ever happy with it. I always have to do something more. That one often comes at the other side of the control thing, right? So you want me to do something, but you want me to do it in your way? Ooh, painful. So again, what's underneath that? So looking at that, so pulling out a piece of paper, pulling out your journal, and asking yourself, okay, here's my thought about the other person. What's the thought about myself? What do I believe to be true about myself? What do I believe to be true about the world at large? What was true in my family of origin? And starting to explore some of those pieces. And you can sort of sometimes break loose a pattern by awareness. Of course, again, there is a pattern shifting process in my book. If you want to get it, Healing is Possible, 10 Things You Need to Know to Heal. Because when we get into this thing where these patterns are showing up, and there's so many more patterns, I can't possibly name them all in a 10 Minutes to Joy podcast. But oftentimes, what will start happening up is subconsciously you start to keep score. I did this for them, and they haven't done that for me. And then you start to do it consciously. And so you get in a deficit awareness situation where, oh, there he has done it again, or she's done it again. Um, why can't this ever change? Why can't they be aware? Why can't? Okay, hold it a second. If they're not aware, there's a good chance we're also not aware of a piece that we're playing out. So looking at, I often call it motives. What's your motive in this? Is your motive to have things very perfectionistic in the way that you specifically want them? Okay, well, go back to my podcast on perfectionism and listen to that one. Um, because perfectionism is a setup for failure for yourself. We can't be perfect. We're far from it. We want to make sure that our patterns aren't detracting ourselves from the attraction to our partner. Because as resentment comes, it looks for more data about what's lacking. And we instead want to go, what's going well in this relationship? Okay, so, and make your list of what's going well so that when that need or desire that's covered and called a need comes up, you're able to recognize that there's other things. So when you can have a conversation, it's not all just negative. This and this and this and this isn't working. You can talk about what you appreciate and then also share. And I really would engage if you could make this effort. I realize my part of the pattern is that maybe sometimes I'm not open to that effort, or I've had a tendency to dismiss that effort. Because when we start to own our own behavior in relationship, we give permission for the other person to also own their part. When I'm working with couples, there's no space in my room for blame. I'm not interested in the blame game at all. That is just a way to lose. But looking at the patterns and helping you release those patterns from a very causal level so that you can show up almost instantly in a different way is a really super powerful way of shifting relationship. So I will leave you with that. This week, what I would really like you to do is start to, when you go, they aren't, okay, what's my half of this equation? What is it I'm setting up? What it is my patterns, my thoughts, my beliefs, my feelings, and start to own that stuff and start to shift your own patterns. And if you're in the province of Ontario and you need help, you can simply reach out at pathtojoy.ca. So that's a wrap for today. Remember, small moments and small insights, small ownerships can create big changes. Keep growing, keep shining, and I'll see you next Friday on 10 Minutes to Joy.